Welcome to Dominion Ministries. I'm Ben. So glad that you joined me today. In my prayer time this morning, just praying for different situations and for different people and the things happening in their lives. As a pastor, I get to be there for the best and the worst parts of people's lives, from the cradle to the grave and everything in between. And so today I was just praying specifically for some people and their situations, because we all face challenges sometimes. And I got thinking while I was praying just about this and that, and I felt the Lord begin to speak to me out of the book of Exodus. And so the people are crying out to God, and God sends a deliverer. And God told Abraham that his people would be in captivity, his descendants would be in captivity for 400 years in Egypt, and that he would rescue them. Well, it's 440 years after the fact, and they find, it's 440 years when they finally leave, because Moses, at 40 years old, kills the Egyptian taskmaster, hides his body in the sand. Everybody finds out, and he goes on the run for 40 years before he encounters God, and God sends him back. And so the people have been crying out to God for deliverance, and Moses comes, and people are initially excited. But each subsequent judgment and each interaction that Moses is having with Pharaoh, he makes life more miserable for the children of Israel. And on the way to deliverance, on the way to freedom, on the way out of Egypt, or whatever your situation is, there are times when it feels like you're going backwards and things are getting worse. I know that feeling. I have experienced that innumerable times in my life, where I see just a glimmer of hope that God is doing something, and suddenly, boom, matters get worse. I see just a little more glimmer of hope, and then, here we go again. And so each judgment and each interaction that Moses is having with Pharaoh brings more oppression for the people. And you are going to face challenges when the devil has held you captive, or the financial system has held you captive, or if you've been in an abusive relationship, or you have not had great boundaries with people. There's always pushback when you're seeking to walk in greater freedom in the Lord. Always pushback. So the Passover comes, right? They eat Passover. They're ready to go. They have their bags packed. They're to eat with their sandals on, a staff in their hand, etc. And that night, the angel of death comes and passes over the children of Israel. And it wasn't just them, too. Anybody that had blood on the doorposts. In fact, it does say that there were Egyptians that left in the Exodus with them. There are people that decided to align themselves with the people of God. After all, the nonsense. And so God kills the firstborn. Pharaoh lets them go. There's huge celebration. Huge celebration. Finally, we have breakthrough. And it's gone. If you ever watched, I'm not an advocate of South Park. Somebody once sent me a clip from South Park. This kid brings some money to the bank. Well, we're just going to invest that for you right here. And it's gone. What do you mean it's gone? Yeah, your money, it's gone. Like, what? I thought you were like managing my, yeah, it's gone. Just as soon as you think, oh man, finally my moment has come, and it's gone. And it's gone. There's an episode of Simpsons where Homer accidentally gets on a skateboard, goes down this ramp, down this hill, and jumps over this canyon. And just as he's about to land on the other side, he misses and goes down the canyon and falls and and gets hurt. Right? Just like, oh, here we go. And there's the edge. And just like right on the edge of the edge, right? And down he goes. And that's how it feels sometimes. Right? Finally, the moment's come. We have deliverance. And here comes Pharaoh. And we got nowhere to go. We got nowhere to go. And sometimes we get into a premature celebration. It's not wrong to celebrate and thank God for what he's doing. But when we get into this, we can get into a celebratory mode or mood, if you will, and it can quickly disappear if we don't keep, because it's about our attitude and trusting and hoping in God. And see, that's the whole problem through the book of Exodus, or you read the book of Numbers, which is, chapter after chapter of people being whiny and complaining the whole time, and God getting fed up with it. And Pharaoh makes one last attempt at the people, right? He's barreling down. He's had it. Not only is, I don't think the Pharaoh's coming to take them captive. He means war. He's through. He's done. And these people have destroyed everything. Their God has destroyed everything. Moses has caused trouble, and he's out for blood. Right? His firstborn son died during the Passover. And here he comes. And then God does a miracle again. And they cross the Red Sea and they celebrate. And written in Exodus is the song of Miriam. It says she danced. Well, it's the song of Moses and the dance of Miriam and the song. And they're, the horse and the rider got us thrown in the sea. And, blessed be the name of the Lord and the God Most High. And a huge celebration. And then out into the desert they go, to the wilderness. And there's no water. There's no food. And what happens? They complain. They whine, it'd be better if we died in Egypt. Oh, how wonderful it was. With each step towards where God is leading you, you're going to face challenges. And there are all opportunities for you to demonstrate faith and unwavering hope and trust in God. When you do not see the answer, when it looks like things are getting worse, are you going to complain, or are you going to lift up glory and honor to God? Are you going to complain, or are you going to speak in faith what God has promised? I have faced so many challenging situations, and I'm in one particular one. People are like, what are you going to do about it? I'm not going to do anything about it. Well, what are you going to do about this? I'm not doing anything. I got better things to do than to whine and complain about how mean and hurtful or this, that, or the other, what this person's doing. It's like, you know what? I faced this battle before. I've been around. The old, not my first rodeo. I mean, not only is it not my first rodeo, I've been bucked off that horse a handful of times. I've been around that thing so many times. It's like, it's not even worth me getting upset about. It's not even worth me. It's like God's got my back. He always does. And he's working it out. But what are you going to do? What do you want me to do? I'm just going to trust God. He's got me through it before. He's going to do it again. And let people do what they want to do. Like, what do I care? I don't. Because I know God's got it. And he's going to protect me. And he's with me. So you face situations, and hopefully, unlike the children of Israel, you get to a place where, you get to a place where you stop complaining and whining, and you start speaking faith, you start speaking life, you start speaking what God has promised. God, you said, well, we're out in the middle of the desert, and there's nothing to eat, and there's nothing to drink. Well, praise God, he must have a miracle up his sleeve. Like, that's the kind of mentality that we need as believers. Now, did you hear that the IRS is getting like 87,000 more agents, and they're to be they have to be armed and be willing to use deadly force? Yeah, and right? Have you not read what happened in Exodus? Did you not see what happened to Ananias and Sapphira? Did you not see what happened to that little slave girl when she was tormenting Paul and Silas in Philippi, and Paul rebukes that thing, that demon leaves? Like we have this fear mentality. We have this victim mentality as Christians. It's like, nah, you know what? Well, whatever. I've even said it before. They could, this coming Sunday, lock the doors and not let me in and tell me to get out of here and never come back. I'd be a little shocked. I'd be hurt for sure, right? But it's like, well, not sure what you got planned now, God. Not sure you're going to get us through this, but I know you're going to. I faced health challenges. I faced scary moments in my life where I wasn't sure how I was going to make it, how we were going to get through. But you know what? God always got us through. He's going to get you through. Life is a series of battles and challenges. From the time David was a young man until the time he died. Like, it was one battle after another. I was complaining recently to my wife. It's like, it's like every time I turn around, there's one more battle going on. Like, and I was just tired. I was just tired and exhausted. It's like, and after I kind of vented and got it all out of my system, it's like, well, time to pick up my sword and keep fighting. What am I going to do? Sit here and whine and complain and be miserable? If I don't fight, the enemy's going to move in, and I can't have that. So I'm going to go back out and keep fighting. Right? Sometimes you get battle fatigue. You get compassion fatigue, even. I've been, when I was at our previous church in Bloomington years ago, we had Teen Challenge come. People like, oh, the stories, just to hear those testimonies, they're powerful testimonies, aren't they? It's like, doesn't it just move your heart? No, not really. I've heard that story like 500 times, and I know this guy. God's still doing work there. We can get jaded and cynical really easy because you get tired of the battles and you see it day in, day out. Well, my friends, you got to keep fighting. But you got to keep I had to keep my eye on the promises of God. God is bringing us into a good land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And here's the other thing. Not only did the Passover bring deliverance, it brought prosperity. It says that they plundered Egypt of silver and gold and all manner of precious things. They plundered Egypt. And, the provision of God is there. But the thing about that, they get out into the desert. See, God's teaching them. The whole point of God leading them to the wilderness, of the way he did the things that he does, and the way he's doing things in your life, is that you might come into a greater revelation and understanding of who he is. He wants to take the people out. And for several years, they're sitting in the wilderness. Well, God establishes them as a nation. He begins to write laws for them. He establishes the parameters and requirements of worship, what is acceptable and not acceptable, the priesthood. You have laws on dietary laws. You have laws on all manner of things, laws on sexual behavior, laws about defilement, laws on health. There was public health laws that God instituted. And all these things. But God is trying to reveal himself to these people, establish them as a holy nation to him. But they just kept complaining. Eventually, after another 40 years, they didn't enter the promised land for 480 years, almost 100 years after they were supposed to, 80 years after God had intended for them to be delivered. They finally make it. One, because of Moses and his youthful foolishness, and two, because of their stupidity. It's... but my friends, you're going to fight battles, and there's no way around it. And there's no way around that each step forward, you're going to face some opposition. But are you going to sit and complain, or are you going to hold on to the promise of God and There was an old story. I think it was like from Korea or World War II, right? This group of soldiers had been circled by the enemy, right? Completely surrounded. And they're like, asked their commanding officer, well, what are we going to do? He goes, well, they're not going to get away from us this time. Right? He kind of flipped the whole mentality. We're surrounded by the enemy. Good. That way they can't get away. Right? They're coming at us. And we don't have to chase them down. And we'll take them all out. That's the mentality. That's the winning victor dominion Christian mentality. Upward and onward and fighting and taking ground in our victory. And as it says in the Bible, this is the victory that overcomes the world, even our faith. And it's our faith that overcomes. It's our faith that causes us to hope and trust in the promises of God. If you want to walk in dominion, pick up your sword and fight. Don't get discouraged. Don't get downcast, but keep your eye on the promise. Pray that promise. Hold God to his promise. And keep on moving forward no matter what the pushback. I love you, friends. God bless you. Walk in dominion.